Now I'm going to be going through the step-by-step process of what I do to create this floral element, and we're going to be using this amazing Carnation die set by Olivia Rose. Now this is a really great die set designed to work with our crepe paper, the Sizzix Crepe Paper. This is in all these absolutely stunning colours. This die has taken into account the stretchiness and the durability of the paper to create something really organic, which at the end of the live is going to look something like this carnation that I made earlier. So let's have a look at what I'm going to be using today. So we've mentioned the die set and the crepe paper. The die set comes in these 4 bits. So we've got these inner petals here. These are all joined together because they're going to be close to the kind of center of the floral. We've got the outer petals here, which is just slightly larger. Then we've got this upper stem part that connects to the flower. Now it looks kind of very uniform here, but when you take into account the stretchiness of the crepe paper, it'll all make sense as we move on. And then we've also got this leaf element here, which is going to be these lovely kind of organic looking leaves here. Now, we are also today going to be using, I've chosen to use some Tim Holtz Distress Inks Seedless Preserves to colour the tips of my flowers, give them a bit more of an organic appeal. You can use them with other mediums, you can use them with our Sizzix alcohol pens. There are a few different ways that you can colour the petals, but today I've chosen Distress Ink. Obviously I've got my blending mat, I've got my blending tool, the multi-tool. We've also got some of this wire stem here in green and some of the green tape. Now I love this stuff, it's activated kind of with a mixture of the warmth of your hands, and when you stretch it the adhesion is activated, so it's really clever stuff. Now I'm also going to be using the fold and form tool as and when needed, just to apply a little bit of maybe dimension, a bit of curve to the petal elements and maybe the leaves as well. So let's have a look at the step-by-step process. The first thing you are going to do, one thing that I haven't mentioned here is I will be using my trusty Sizzix glue gun. This is the adhesive of choice today. We're going to be using the hot glue. So let's have a look. Now I'm going to take 2 of these wooden beads. Now I've got a larger one and a small one here. And what we're going to do, we want the smaller bead to be on here first. We'll use this end. Like so. Just add a little bit of glue there, and then we're going to put the larger bead on top. Like this. So this is going to provide us with a platform to start adhering leaves. Now, I have hand cut this kind of oval shape here because the first thing we're going to do with the hot glue is we're going to just wrap this around here and make sure that this is all nice and tightly covered, just in case you can see, you know, within the, if you look through the top of the floral, you don't want to be able to see the wooden beads. So we want to cover this, just applying liberally as we go. The oval shape kind of allows it to fold over the top. We probably don't need all of this, so I might just tear some of this off. And you can just there see how durable this stuff is. But it can be tamed with a hot glue gun there. So now if you are touching hot glue, I recommend that you use some maybe some of the elements from our Sizzix heat tool kit. But there we are. That's fine for me. This just gives us something that we can start adhering our leaf elements to. Now, I have pre-cut everything here. I will be showing how to ink. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to ink one of the outer petal elements here. And I'm also going to show how we stretch. And then I'm going to start with the inner petal element. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the seedless preserves. I want to get some of it off on my mat. And then just very lightly, I'm going to go over the edge here. Because I want, looking at wildflowers, or real flowers, should I say, they are obviously coloured on both sides, but they often have gradients. Now, look what happens here. So I've created a gradient there with the seedless preserves on the primrose crepe paper. But look how we stretch it now. So I'm not applying too much pressure. I'm just stretching, and it actually has a really nice amount of give in the petals, in the crepe paper. And when you stretch it out, all those areas that were missed in the inking process create a really natural look on those petals. So that's how we're going to be manipulating the leaves throughout. So let's begin adhering our center element here. Now, we have the larger bead and we have the smaller bead there. I'm going to be adhering the bottom of my petal elements here just around the bottom edge of the larger bead so that you can still see the smaller bead underneath. So let's go. I'm just going to add a little bit of hot glue. I'm going to attach it here, and then we're going to start wrapping around. Now, bearing in mind, for this live, I don't want the live to be, more than half an hour long, so I'm going to be stopping at a certain point, but don't be afraid with these florals to really fill the flowers full of petals. Now that's just the first element here, the first die cut element glued on, but you can see there that we've got a really nice natural edge. Now I'm going to carry on with this, with all of these that I prepared earlier, and we're going to build this right up. I decided with this live I didn't want to go from step to step where I've prepared the bits earlier. I wanted you to see me creating the flower from start to finish. Just because I think with something like this where you want that care, it's going to be really beneficial. So there we are, we're going to keep going. And you don't always have to pack it, stretch the crepe paper tightly. You can do it nice and loose so that we get kind of loose petals. And always keep in mind here that although this is not a rush job, I'm doing it quite quickly. So you might want to take a little bit more care. But as you go, you can just apply a little bit more hot glue. And just be careful when you're applying the glue as well. So last few of the center elements here, because as I say, I'm not gonna do a really packed in floral, but I can't wait to see what you guys at home create with these floral elements. So just look how this is building up now. It gets a really natural feel to it. And you can make these look very realistic. So, as I said earlier, I wanted to show how we're going to stretch them. This is one of the elements that I've just used. But to stretch, we're just going to tug lightly, just to create a bit more width to the petals. And let me do that right up to the camera here. You're just going to tug, like so. And it's quite strong as well, so it's not going to tear in there. just like that. But my inner element looks quite full already, so I'm going to go ahead and start applying these outer elements. Now these are all single petals rather than that middle element that is a full line of petals side by side. Now, as this is a carnation, I first made the mistake, it might have been worth me even showing you the first one that I ever made. I made the mistake of building the flowers further down each time, and it ended up looking still a really lovely floral, but it was more like a rose than a carnation. We want a carnation, so I'm going to go ahead. I've cut about, I think about 50 of these elements that I'm going to stick around the side here, just to make sure I pack it out enough. And the glue gun has just been really handy during these sorts of makes. So you can see it's starting to get a bit wider now around these bits. Just applying more hot glue. And the more you do this, the easier it gets as well. Now, if I wanted to add a bit of dimension to these leaves, I might insert them into my fold and form tool and just, you know, just a few kind of goes with the fold and form, you're going to create a bit more kind of curliness to the leaves, which can add to the kind of organic look. So let's keep going. So the reason I chose the glue gun for this make is that it's instant adhesion. And we really need that during a make like this, because we don't want to be, with them being such delicate things to hold, it's more difficult when the elements don't, you know, adhere straight away. So another idea is to move, you know, manipulate the petals just with your hand. So, you know, you can choose to bend them either way. And I really love how this is turning out now. You can see that I'm pushing down here on these bits, and it's really creating the kind of bendiness of the leaves. In a carnation, these can kind of come back out. I'm going to peel some of these bits down. Just a few more of these, and then I'm going to start with my leafy elements. But as I say, when you have a go at this yourselves, don't be afraid to really pack in the petals. Like so. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it about there with my petals. I could go, you know, keep doing this for a while longer and create something that's really, you know, packed in tightly. But for the sake of this live, I'm going to move on to my upper stem element. Now, you can see here that I'm just stretching this bit. I'm going to stretch some of these little triangular points at the end that are going to face upwards here. Now, one thing to remember in a carnation, the greener elements where you're going to get the stem meeting, so the almost kind of under petal leaf elements here at the top of the stem, these come really high up on a carnation. So I'm going to add some glue about here, and I'm going to start adhering around here. And I'm going to push this, I'm going to squeeze this quite tightly round it. I'm going to add glue as I go, so I know it's adhering all the way around. And I can wrap that in there. Just making sure that those leaf elements are all facing upwards towards the petals. Like so. And then you can twist that round there and have a look at this. Already, that's looking really, really lovely. So, all that's left to do on this is to add my leaf elements and the tape. So this is where this tape, it's really lovely stuff, this tape. comes in handy, especially with these florals. But as I said earlier, stretching this kind of activates the adhesion on it. Now it's going to be best to be able to turn the flower around rather than wrap the tape around, which is what I'm doing here. Just a few goes around there, and then you can see it starting to adhere. This stuff sticks to itself, like so. Just going to push that up. Now, here's how we attach the leaf elements. Well, here's how I attach them anyway. Now, I'm going to tear this tape about here because I know this is about as much as I'm going to need for this. But if I needed more, I could always just start applying more from where it is. Now I'm going to start coming down here. The leaves I want to come about here. So I'm just going to hold my leaf element down there. And then I'm going to go over it with my tape. Now that leaf element has already been attached. I pre-curled that leaf, so it just looks really lovely and organic. There we are, and I'm going to add another leaf element just on the other side here. Ooh. Hold it down and then just wrap that over it and carry on wrapping. So I've got those two really lovely organic looking leaf elements. Now I can really speed this process up. And there we are. So, remember, this is something that I've created quite quickly. Now, with this being a carnation in particular, you might want to bend down some of the leaves afterwards. And this is the great thing about the crepe paper, is that afterwards, you're then free to manipulate it as you want, as you would if you were flower arranging. But just have a look at that. I'm really happy with the way that this looks. It's a really nice, kind of organic looking floral. And have a look at the one that I made earlier. So they're really, really lovely to make. Let me just angle you back up. Really fun, it's a really relaxing process. But I'm just so happy with how these flowers turn out. I think half of the fun is seeing how realistic and organic they look once you are finished. So that is it from me today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope that it has been informative, and I really hope that after watching it, that everyone is kind of looking at that going, I want to have a go at that, because let me tell you, it is a really fun process. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time.